Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Zaisha. My mom is Renette here. She's going to be sharing with us some oils that you should have in your disaster kit. If everyone got the Living magazine, it's such a coincidence that they came out with an article that is about in case of emergency, essential oil preparedness. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to touch up on some of the important bits. But so the basics, while we all can't stop natural disasters or global.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hardly hear you.
Okay, wait, I'll talk louder then. Everybody else can hear me, right? Okay. While we can't stop natural disasters or global events, assembling what we need to survive and even thrive through an emergency will provide comforting peace of mind. The CDC recommends storing at least a gallon of water per person per day for basic drinking and sanitation. It also recommends you to store 2,000 calories per person per day in food. Whether you feel amply prepared for the unexpected or have more to do, today is the perfect day to reassess and set a plan for moving forward. So beyond food and water, that's pretty much essentials to us. You know, you also need batteries, radio, matches, flashlight, candles, playing cards, keep yourself busy, books, blankets, utensils, you know, your first aid kit. But in our first aid kit, we can now add our essential oils. So Mom, did you want me to talk about the top ones?
Yeah, you can, and then I'll just piggyback off of what was in the magazine.
Okay. And you know, everyone, our bottles are small, but you know, they have a big impact. Our oils also have a long shelf life when kept at room temperature, away from sunlight and other heat sources. An unopened bottle of essential oil can be beneficial for us for years. Of course, you will want to check them out just like every other thing in your disaster kit and replace them as time goes on. But our oils do last a really long time. So one in the magazine I'm going to touch because these were the exact same oils that Mom was going to touch on. But the first one is lemon because it's such a powerful cleansing agent. It can clean surfaces. Also, you can always add it to your water in an emergency kit because sometimes, you know, water doesn't taste as good. And this is going to help, you know, as it sits longer. And maybe you're in such a disaster that you're drinking water all the time and you want something different, can change it up. So lemon, because of its cleansing properties, you'll want On Guard with wild orange, clove, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, and rosemary. On Guard is our protective blend. It's natural, effective alternative for our immune support. And no matter what kind of emergency you find yourself in, you know, your immune system is your first body's line of defense. So On Guard should always be a number one in your kit. I would say the 15 ml bottle. You can always go with all your little 5 ml bottles in your little kit. It's totally up to you, but for me, On Guard would be the big bottle for me. A tea tree, on another hand, would be another big bottle for me. Tea tree, you know, you can use it for all your cuts and scrapes and help soothe the skin, especially in crazy disasters. Then you have your frankincense, the king of all oils. Not only soothing for the skin, but also supports our healthy cellular function when taken internally. Next, it was the lavender. Because it has so many potential uses, it will always come in handy when dealing with emergencies. Perhaps this is one of the greatest benefits. It can help soothe and calm the mind. So of course, when we're all in disasters, we'll probably all wanna probably throw an adaptive in there, but if you don't, lavender also has those calming and soothing effects. And not to mention, I mean, lavender is good for all skin things. Next is your peppermint. In an emergency, peppermint is like your swift army knife of essential oils. Peppermint can promote healthy respiratory function and clear breathing. Also good for the digestive system and occasional stomach upset if we're really in a disaster and we need to, I don't know, cook some animals and we have an upset stomach, we are going to need peppermint. But that's like real disaster, right, guys? Next is our purify. You'll always want purify in there, not only to eliminate odors, but purify is also good for stings, bee stings, splinters. They help with splinters. Oh. Okay. It said somebody else logged in. Okay. I'm still there, right, guys? Okay, and then also your coconut oil. You'll want coconut oil in your prepared nest kit. You'll also want, I mean, we have so many other products that doTERRA offers for us. My number one in my emergency, just every day with my band-aids, is Correct-X. So you'll want that. And then I'll let mom take over.
Okay. So I just want to emphasize on what Zaisha said. Those are perfect oils to start off your emergency essential oil kit with. However, I want to share the importance that our islands, we don't get enough disasters to really practice our preparedness action plans, I want to say. Yet for us living on the Big Island at the time, we got hit with Hurricane Isao, and then we got hit with the lava. And so just from those two disasters, we was able to really prepare better. And, it doesn't matter what island we're on, we could have a disaster that's not a natural disaster. So how do we prepare better daily, on a daily? And it's not when, it's if. And so it's here already. We already know that we are in a crisis in different areas, not only food, but in other many areas. So I want to share the most three important key things to look at. The number one thing would be a 72-hour bug out kit. And that's a 3-day supply. With that 3-day supply is a tent, because you just don't know if you have to evacuate. We had many that had to evacuate in 2 hours, meaning 2 hours, they had no time to even grab a bug out bag. The lava was literally like right there. And so they had to end up living in other people's front yards. And that was my nonprofit's job, was to help them to get tents. And the number one thing they kept on asking for was mosquito repellent, because you just don't know. So that's an oil or oils to think about to add on to your emergency essential oil kit. Any oils that can help with bugs, especially mosquitoes. And the reason I leave it up to you guys to choose the oils is it's almost like choosing the foods that you like to eat. You choose the oils that you like to work with. Then that way you're going to use it, not just let it sit in the kit. Yet also look at how much more benefits these oils have besides just one thing. So that's, I said 72-hour bug out bag. That's a 3-day supply. The second one to really pay attention to and put on your top priority is shelter and security. And if you got a shelter in place, again, that goes back to like the 3-day supply, which eventually you're going to move into a year supply. But we can talk about all of that stuff more. And then only something super, super important, only again, store foods that you like to eat along with the oils that you like to use. At times of emergency, we might just want to grab our whole kit, our whole bag, our whole box of our oils. That's okay, because guess what? You just might know somebody, I mean, you just might know somebody else that could use the oil. So during the whole lava disaster, I had 2 diffusers going on at our hub, our emergency hub, the whole time. And I just shared this with Zaisha that we literally had people walk in, look for any one of us, lay their head on our shoulders, had a good cry, walked to the diffuser, took a few deep breaths, and then went back to where they were sheltered. Many of them lost their homes. And so having these oils and then having women from around the world donate oil kits, doTERRA oil kits to us almost every 3 days. It not only helped the people that was dealing with the crisis at the time, it also helped the volunteers and the workers feel just as loved, I want to say, because as I was able to distribute these kits to my volunteers, they felt like that was the best paycheck ever. A lot of them came out, I mean, we were volunteering, nobody got paid. So when these kids came in, I was so happy because I got to give them something that was so worth more than we said a paycheck. And it really helped mental, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And that's what I'm going to emphasize on also. Try to choose oils that you can put into your emergency kit that's going to help on an emotional level with depression, anxiety, frustration. So frustration, helichrysum, emotional oils, depression and anxiety would be cypress and thyme. Endurance, we're going to need endurance. That's juniper berry. So look at all these different keywords and see which oils would fall into those areas, because it's not only going to benefit you and your ohana, it could benefit a neighbor or somebody else. Another important oil to put into our kit is oregano. Why I say oregano is because if you should get any deep open wound, you can literally put a drop of oregano with combination of lavender or just a drop of oregano onto that deep wound, and it'll literally bring all the pussy junky stuff to its surface so that you can go ahead and clean it up and then band-aid. Another important thing for this kit is also sunscreen. So don't forget sunscreen. And then if you have hat, make sure you put a hat in that bug out bag, because you just don't know, your cars might get locked in and then you got to walk. So another very important supply to have is an old style can opener. So old style can opener, we had a lot of people coming because they had electric. They had different kinds of can openers and they couldn't open their canned goods. So we had to put that call out on our wish list that we needed the old style can openers. A whistle is super, super important, because if you're trapped somewhere or you cannot get out of your road, you can blow that whistle and somebody can hear you. And then solar light, because not all of us is equipped with battery all the time. But if you can have a few solar lights in that bug out bag, you can put them out in the sun, and then nighttime you have light, at least for a few hours. And the reason I emphasize on the solar lights is because we've had many kupunas fall down. When Hurricane Isel came, some subdivisions wasn't back up and running till after a month. And so our kupunas going in and out of the shower and all of that, many of them fell and they didn't have flashlight. So just from those experiences, I bring this to the forefront so that we can better prepare. And then it makes sense so that when that disaster does come, we is feeling more prepared and more secured, because we got things that made sense and we wasn't scrambling at the store trying to get whatever off of the shelf, and then we stuck with eating just beans. So this is an important time to really look at our kit. Candles, I like candles. Only issue is with Hurricane Isao, many of our kupunas, they wasn't, some forget, even us adults, even the kids. So we had 3 houses burned down, not due to the disaster, but because the candle and the curtain caught on fire, or the kupuna fell asleep and forgot the candle was on. So candles is good if somebody can always pay attention to that and make sure that the candle is it's put out at the end of the night. But solar lights was really, really good. Now, if we out there during a disaster and say, for example, we no more sunscreen. Well, the noni fruit might be the stinkiest fruit on earth, but the noni fruit provides its own natural sunscreen. So if you stuck out there in the hot sun and you're having to walk for hours and you come across a noni tree, you get that noni fruit, the ripest one you can find, and you rub that all over your body. If you get open sores and wounds, you wipe that noni juice all over that open sores and wounds, because that is like our plant of medicine. So going back into emergency preparedness, I can offer to all of you guys later on a more intense workshop to where we really can work on action plans, evacuation plans, what should go into our emergency kits, the whys from going from 72 hours, 3 days to a year. And then what happens with all of these supplies if a disaster doesn't come? Well, we have to rotate it. And then yet, if you have an overabundance of supply, then you just share, because we got to pay attention to our expiration dates, even with our oils. Although oils got the longest shelf life, especially if you guys have already mixed the blends, that's the ones that you want to pay attention to, because those can go rancid. But if it's still in its purest form, then they fine. They can stay in your kit for a long time. Just let me double check and make sure. So I went ahead and said anxiety, depression, emotional, frustration, endurance. Another important thing to have in your kit is baking soda. And we say, why baking soda? Well, baking soda can bring alkalinity to the water. For many people on the Big Island, they live on water catchment. And because the acid rain mixed with the fumes from the lava, that started to make a lot of the piping get rusty. And so by putting baking soda into their water catchments have helped save the piping. And then also help keep the, a lot of bugs will start to go into the water. And so much different things that we had to learn, yet essential oils came in and did its part and played a big, big role. Down to, like Zaisha said, putting the lemon in your water, even putting drops into your water catchment to help keep the water from going rancid and smelly. Again, the mosquito repellent one, lemongrass. You could even put that in your buckets of water, put a screen on top, and then that's water for you to take a bath. So not to scare anybody, but our islands, we are looking at more drought. And so water is also at a crisis besides our food. And then again, like I said, the oils, we don't have enough disasters to literally go through all of this stuff. But I can honestly say it played a big, big role during that lava time. I myself would stand there just for a few minutes to get myself back to a place of peace. And then we continue on again. On some days, we had over 900 people come through that hub. And when they came through that hub, many of them lost their homes. And to hear our kupunas honestly say they only needed a big rice cooker because they now have to live with their children and grandchildren. And they lost their whole house. But humbly, they said, this is all I need. And so to give them a doTERRA essential oil kit was also rewarding for us. And that's how much kits we had come in from all over the world, I have to say. And many of our Hawaii women here on the islands, they hustled. And by word of mouth, they got these kits in. And so, and they were delivered, literally delivered to our hub, because they wanted to make sure that it got to us and our hands. And they knew that trustworthy wise, it got out to the people that it needed to go to. So the next time there's a disaster out there around the world and you feel the urge to purchase a kit or two, by all means, please do it, because it's going to help that person, whoever or wherever they're at. And especially for us, and what we do in Role Model Now is only going to teach our children. What we do in Role Model Now, we could see 7 generations from now. So let's move forward with getting better prepared and be smarter for any kind of disaster. And sometimes the disasters is right behind our front doors. We have disasters within our own homes. Every home is dysfunctional, so every home should have more than one diffuser going on. And I hope all of you got something out of this. What other oils to add more to your kit? Like I say, go with the oils that you feel in your gut area, in that mana area, and put them in your kit, and don't wait. If you got to purchase 1 and then 2 later and then 3 later, do like that. You have a whole year to get better prepared. Any questions?
You had one. I think it was for the noni. Does the noni help keep bugs away?
You know, I gotta say, because we make healing products, our family make healing products and medicine. I've had women work in the orchid fields and the papaya fields that said the noni does keep the bugs away and the flies. So when I say our noni healing products, the #1 product we use in our blends is noni, and then the oils, the essential oils. So to have that testimony come back, I gotta say, yeah, it might be stinky to us, but the Lord put that fruit on earth for a reason, and you can utilize the whole plant.
And then, Mom, what kind of bag or container would you store your things in?
So to me, I would say go with those plastic containers that got good. When you push it down, it locks really good. If you go with the ones like, there's some that when you push it down, it locks really tight. And then there's some that the handles kind of like you push it to the side and then you open it up. You just check out the seals. When you put the cover on, make sure that it's sealed really, really good. Any of those plastic containers, they sell them all over. Even if you find them at thrifty stores and yard sales, just make sure no more cracks on the bottom and all of that. Yeah. Mason jars is another good thing to store stuff in.
Another good tip, if you don't, like, you're listening to all of this and you just don't know how to get started, is take a camping trip. And then you'll see the things that you want as you go along. You'll be like, oh, I should have brought that, you know? Taking a camping trip is just like a disaster, but the disaster is probably just a longer one. So that I went on a camping trip and then I knew that, you know, I forgot the terra shield or, you know, things like that. So as you take that camping trip, you'll remember what you forgot. And then when you go home, you just throw it in there. Or your camping trip box can also serve as your disaster kit, you know, that you always just replenish when you get home.
I want to give one tip, and maybe some of you do or have gotten trained with Red Cross and CERT. Maybe some of you sit on a team. However, if you do end up at a shelter because you have to evacuate, just know and remember that they don't really supply you with anything. You have to go there with all of your stuff. If donations is dropped off to them, they will not distribute those stuff out. So be prepared at all times. And that's why the importance of bug out bags. Everybody's bug out bag will look different also from the ages in your household.
Can I ask why you call it a bug out bag?
You know, that's just always been a term I would say it's all around the many parts of the world. And it's a bug out bag is to be set aside somewhere near your front door or your exit emergency door, because like I said, so Kapoho had 2 hours to evacuate. And no matter how much they prepared, they had 2 hours and they had to evacuate like 10 o'clock in the morning. So many of them, the wives or the husbands had already left to go to work. Many of them, they left. Nobody was home. So they wasn't thinking about taking anything. They left early morning and then come to hear later that they had to evacuate. So another important tip is that, maybe you can make copies of some of your important documents and put it somewhere else. Like you got to have 2 action plans. And that's what we did with a lot of the families back home on the Big Island, was we went from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood to help train their community association board members, or they started up their own emergency first responder type of groups. And we went in and we worked with their groups for one whole year and we trained them. We also covered their monthly food pantries, meaning that we paid for all their food to come into their neighborhoods and subdivisions so that the team could learn how to distribute food and not get depleted within 3 days, because you don't know how long that disaster or how long the outside organizations or what you call like electricity, water, all of that. We cannot expect for them to get everything back up and running within 24 hours. And so if we can become first responders for our own homes first, and then make sure that we have extra supplies, because you don't want to be, if you're a compassionate person and we get a disaster and you was better prepared than your neighbor, what can happen? We all share because we get the aloha spirit. So we need to be better prepared, because you don't want to get depleted of your own supplies. Yet you don't want all the neighbors down your whole street get that mindset thinking, oh, Zaisha, she's still preparing all the time. That's okay. We don't need worry. No, that's the wrong mindset. We need to get everybody thinking in the correct way. So if we can do it together, I'm here. I'm willing to offer, like Zaisha said, you can go camping or we can get together and we can dig deeper. Yeah.
And then Galaxy Tab, sorry, I don't know your name, but she said that Noni Juice helped her doing her chemotherapy. And can Noni be a carrier oil?
It's how you, it's not diffusing the oil. How we make ours, our noni fruit is picked and then it sits in a herbal oil mixture, and that becomes our carrier oil. And so it's by choice of what kind of carrier oil you want to work with. But I'm here in Maui to share. That's my mission and my task. I was told many years ago I'll be in Maui. So now I know what my mission is. And if you want to learn how to make your own noni carrier oil, I'll show you and I'll teach you. It's super, super important. We have an overabundance of noni, but it's not getting used. And we need to utilize that plant. So whoever that person is, I'd be more than happy to show you how. It has to sit in the sun and the moon for at least a good 14 days. And why? Because then it gets the blessings from our ancestors up above, and then your carrier oil is good to go. And then you utilize however you want.
Yeah, you're right.
It is stinky.
It's
stinky. Ask Zaisha. Zaisha them had to do 5-gallon buckets at a time, squeezing all by hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And then don't forget, guys, even just a sheet or a little basic 101 essential oil book is good to throw in there, because in time of emergency, we forget everything. It's just the way it goes. We worry and stress about other things, and then we're going to be like, what did we put this oil in here for? So even a small book would be really good. So this is kind of just like an intro to get you guys started. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just if you just put 1 or 2 oils in your disaster kit or in your first aid kit, then hey, you've started it. So continue to educate yourselves and empower yourselves. And thank you all for coming on. This was just a quick class. We don't want to keep you all. Go and enjoy your dinners. And anybody have any more questions? Anybody want to say anything or share what they put in theirs? If not, have a good night, everyone. Happy Tuesday. And here we go to graduation season. Have a good night.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.